We're talking winners and losers, risers and fallers from last night's preseason game number 2 against the Cincinnati Bengals. My brother Jalen Morgan, aka Bleeding B&G, will be on the channel to give us his boots on the ground perspective. He saw it up close, so he might have a little bit more context of what took place last night. Let's talk about it. My brother, my guy, how are we doing on a Tuesday morning, my guy?
I'm a little tired, bro. Like you said, I was boots on the ground at Northwest Stadium, and I had to sit through a bunch of Sam Hartman incompletions. I don't know to you, but like that game felt a lot longer than the regular season game because we don't have that many incompletions. So I'm a little tired. Felt like I played, but just did my game recap, and I'm super excited to join you for sure.
Hell yeah, man. We know Jalen's going to come with it, and we know that you were there at the game last night. But before we get to that, your boy John Wall just officially announced his retirement. Are you okay, brother?
I'm not. So I'm glad that you invited me onto this space so I could get some fellowship because it's a tough day. That was my favorite NBA player. I know this is an NFL podcast, so we ain't got to ramble about him too long. But he was the face of DC at one point. So on the segue into it, I think we're talking about the new face of DC right there, the big face. Yeah. So let's segue into that because, the superstar was doing superstar things last night.
Hell yeah. Like you said, quarters 2 through 4 was a bunch of watching Sam Hartman, Josh Johnson, and Lyft drivers play football. But that first quarter was a movie. It was cinema watching the TV version of it. You set the scene. What did it feel like atmosphere-wise from Northwest Stadium last night?
So I was running a little late, and that's how I knew it was going to be crazy because the traffic was insane at 4 p.m. I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing for a Monday night preseason
You texted that in the chat.
This is what we're doing. Landover Road, backed up all the way, bumper to bumper. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I got there right before the light show, so I had to kind of rush. I was trying to vlog as much as I can, but as soon as I sat down, it was the light show. And it just gave me 2024 vibes, like when we played the Falcons, and it was just those vibes again. And it reminded me that football was back. And then after the light show, everybody comes out, and then I see 5. And then I see 5 run to the 5-yard line, do his little prayer. I see Devo with his red jacket. Yeah, that was a red jacket, guys. He is not fat. He is not fat. I see Devo out there with his red jacket. And I just knew that it was time for football. But the atmosphere was live. It wasn't too crowded. It was pretty modest. A Monday night football game, people gotta go to work, but everybody that was there, I'm in the lower bowl. Everybody was into football. Everybody knew football. They knew the game, and it was like, oh, the fan base is all the way back. The fan base is all the way back for sure.
The real ones in the building, a couple casuals sprinkled in. I love to hear that. Bro, that light show looked freaky on TV. That joint looked good.
Oh, they played it on TV?
Dog, you can see it. You can see it in the background when Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were talking. You can see the light show, and you see Dan Quinn walking out the tunnel as the lights were hitting, and the stadium field conditions look magnificent, man.
Yeah, they clearly, we said it last year, but they clearly spent even more money this year. The PA system, you can hear everything loud as day. I think they were in preseason form though. They didn't drop any like special lights yet. I think they saving that for the hella primetime games that we got this year. But for a preseason game, it was pretty epic in there.
Hell yeah. But obviously the Bengals got the ball first to start the game. But let's jump straight to Washington's first offensive drive with all of the Brian Robinson news. Him and Terry were not present while Trey Hendrickson was present last night. That's a conversation we're going to have at some point today. Walk me through your reaction through our first offensive drive.
Wow. My guy, Jaden Daniels, showed that he was a superstar and he didn't have to throw the ball. I'm glad that he's saving his arm until September. But guess what? He still did a couple of things to let you know that he's one of the best players, the most dynamic players in the NFL. And then, when we pop it off with a Chris Rodriguez 40-yard run, I'm like, that's why Brian Robinson is watching the game with me right now. That's why he's watching the game on his couch right now. And then, I know we're still sticking with the first drive, but we're going to get to it. But then when I see Bill coupled that with a 27-yard run. I was like, oh, Brian Robinson, let me pack your bags myself, my boy. I'm ready to go get you a Greyhound ticket. But just sticking back to the first drive, to pop it off with a Deebo Samuel run. It just shows that Cliff is back with the exotic looks, and Deebo is the type of player that he was presented to us to be. A guy that's going to excel in this offense with a lot of manufactured touches at the line of scrimmage. And if we could just beat people by mauling them, I haven't even gotten to the offensive line. I don't know what got into Andrew Wiley yesterday. He looked like prime Chris Samuels. I don't know. He looked like prime Joe Jacoby out there doing yesterday. I don't know what they got to him. And then John Bates looking like a 6 offensive lineman out there. And if we can remember, that's how we were winning a lot of games at the beginning of the year. Fab was having his magical plays and things like that, but we were winning these games, staying ahead of these sticks. And that's when Brian, we don't call him B-Rob over here. We denounce some of his nickname. But that's when he was healthy and he was giving us something in the run game. But when that fell off, our offense had to divert and change. But to see, we were back into early 2024 vibes dominating in the run game for that first drive was like, all right, it's back. It's football time.
Yep. Winner number 1 for me from preseason game number 2 is the offensive line for sure. As you were just talking about, Andrew Wiley out here looking like prime John Jansen last night, getting his hands on dudes, mauling them to the ground. Josh Connerly Jr., we've heard that he could pass block. He looked good run blocking, bro. Those holes that were opened up, we could have scored through, and we need to see more like that. And that's not even the A unit. That's not the A unit. Chris Paul was out there throwing Bamas around last night. Everybody was getting active. John Bates is a 6th offensive lineman. Ever since he got the bag, he out here at camp with the jersey rolled up and the abs different out. His swagger is different. We're moving different as a team. So winner number 1 from last night, the offensive line up until a certain point of the game. I mean, the offensive line that's going to be on the roster, not the Uber drivers. There's a reason they just signed George Fant like 20 minutes ago, which we're also going to talk about later in the show. But going from the offensive line to another room that was a clear winner last night, especially on a day where we needed to show it most, the damn running back room. Like on a day where all this Brian Robinson stuff comes out, C-Rod starts the day off. We got to find a better nickname for him than Short Bus, by the way.
The Short Bus is crazy.
It sounds so offensive, and it's not even what we're going for, but it's also hilarious.
And it also is like offensive. It's appropriate. It's just, it fits his play style. It does, but it's crazy to say.
Jerome Bettis was the bus. C-Rod is the Short Bus. He starts the game with a cut and sees nothing but daylight. I'm not going to hold you. Bill might have cut that and cribbed it. He might have took it to the crib, but I'm never going to be mad at a big run to start the game off. Were you surprised that C-Rod got the first carry last night?
Nah, I wasn't necessarily surprised that C-Rod got the first carry because if we could go back to the back half of 2024, I thought Chris Rodriguez was better than Brian Robinson then. And while, Bill is getting all this hype and it's garnered, I think it's, well-deserved and things of that nature. We still need a guy that's going to give us those 3 yards in a cloud of dust and keep us ahead of the stick. So to see, Chris Rodriguez as that first down back, I wasn't necessarily surprised because if we could go back and look at the yards per carry last year, Chris Rodriguez giving you about 5 yards a carry every time that he touches the ball. So, Cliff Kingsbury can definitely scheme up something with 2nd and 5. So I wasn't necessarily surprised to see Rodriguez get the first carries and then see JCM or Bill be incorporated later. And I think that was, foresight for what we're going to see come regular season. But let me ask you a question. Is the running back room still a winner right now if technically Brian Robinson's still a part of it?
Yes, it is, because the guys that actually got on the field yesterday, they got active. Yeah. Brian Keith, we wish him the best on his endeavors elsewhere, but that running back room did nothing but win. We put Jaden Daniels out there with 3 backup offensive linemen, and he only had to drop back 1 time, and on his only drop back, he found pay dirt. And he got skinny, split some defenders, and got in the end zone. So winner number 2. Even on a night where we don't have to see him pass a football, Jaden Daniels. You got to get the updated version of him with the grills in. My quarterback got grills in, Jalen.
I need the new one. I need the new one. You see, that's LSU. That's that LSU swag. Jaden comfortable now, bro. You hear him yesterday, man. I wanted to score. Like, yeah, everybody, y'all chatting, but guess what? Everybody telling me this. No, get that. I'm gonna score, and you're gonna end up cheering. The swagger is real. That year 2 swagger is real.
The smile, the diamonds dancing on his neck and in his teeth. The boy got, he said, I wanted, you see him dancing and on his horse in the end zone and shit. Right. He is comfortable and he is now welcoming superstardom. He recognizes it. They asked that man, why didn't you slide? Because I wanted to score. And my favorite comment from his presser when they were asking him about that, when he was talking to him on the sideline, I think it was Lisa Salters, he was like, yeah, I'm sure some people probably wanted me to get down. They were probably a little upset with me. And then they cheered.
Did he stop? Drop mic. He should have just walked away at that point. Should have started talking to Bobby at that point.
Hell yeah, man. I'm sitting here watching the Bengals play the best passer in the league, a whole half, running for his life in the goddamn matrix. Meanwhile, my quarterback don't even got to throw the ball one time and the offense goes down the field. Cliff Kingsbury, obviously a winner, even though there's not but so much you can scheme up for Sam Hartman and Josh Johnson.
Yeah, we talking about Joe Burrow going against a lot of Lyft drivers. I think Sam Hartman's going to be a Lyft driver soon. Nah, he's a little too handsome for that. He's going to be an Abercrombie and Fitch model sometime soon because even the best of offensive minds can't really dial it up. And I said on my recap that, we can't be preaching competition and we let Sam Hartman handshake and dap up his way through a second NFL season. We can't allow that to happen because at this point, I don't know him other than being like Jaden Daniels hype man because he's not a real NFL quarterback. But Cliff Kingsbury's definitely a winner. He got Jalen Lane involved.
Yes.
Speaking of Jalen Lane, I think that he looked good. I was honestly surprised that I thought that he looked better running the intermediate routes than the downfield routes. And, this is a guy running those 4.33 40s. I was expecting him to be stacking guys and running vertical, but no, he was running the entire route tree. I don't know if it was the third or the fourth quarter when I saw him route up the DB on that out route. I was like, oh, he's legit. And he's going to be another one of those chain movers that we need come the regular season.
Jalen Lane, certainly a winner from last night's preseason game. Dare I say he looks wide receiver-y. He looks very wide receiver. You're expecting speed demon, just vertical, take the top off guy. No, sir. He's stemming his route. He's setting up receivers. He's shaking dude, and he's showing strong hands at the catch point. He's attacking the football with both of his hands. All 3 of his catches were tightly contested. All of them were chain movers. 14 yards a catch on 3 catches. This looks like he's going to be a first down magnet for 5 this year.
Jalen Lane was so good that he even made plays with Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman as his quarterbacks. Like, I don't even know how much more that I need to say. Like you said, I didn't, as Cliff Kingsbury alluded to a couple of weeks ago, and Virginia Tech just didn't show it. He didn't run the entire route tree at Virginia Tech. So when I'm seeing him run digs and run comebacks, I'm like, what is this? And if we could get that type of athlete to be a nuanced receiver, the sky's the limit for Jalen Lane. I don't want to put too much hype on him, but we can remember Tyreek Hill was once a mid-round draft pick as well, and we saw what he exploded to, and Jalen Lane is his closest athletic comp.
And you can make these type of statements when your quarterback is one Jaden Daniels, already a top 5 quarterback in this league. He just oozes of aura and superstar quarterback, but the guy we all wanted to see, Bill Nye, the science. How did the stadium erupt on that Bill touchdown?
Bro, it was only probably about 30,000 people there yesterday, and I swore it sounded sold out when Bill did that. I blacked out. I didn't even see him get to the end zone because once he broke away, I started to turn around. I was like, it's good. Like, he was one of my sons. I sounded like a proud dad. When you see your son breaking away, you just turn it like it's good. Like,
that's my boy.
That's him. And that's how I felt. And I felt like that's how the entire stadium felt, and when you see the team start to gravitate towards him as well, you're like, oh, this Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt Bill RB1 agenda is real. You see Jaden Daniels go damn near across the stadium to go grab his football. I'm like, oh, the team believes in this talent as well. It's not just some camp, narrative that's being pushed by a lot of local beat reporters. You see the juice in the open field, and you hear Adam Peters say that, yeah, he was a 7th-round draft pick, but, or other NFL media draft pundits say, this is a guy that in regular circumstances would be a 3rd or 4th round talent. I think he showed that 3rd or 4th round talent in yesterday's game.
Yeah, he definitely did. And there's a reason why they feel confident and validated for moving past Brian Robinson in the last season of his contract. Bill, his first carry was good. His second carry, like the numbers obviously took a dip when they put him behind the DC defenders starting O-line. What's your reasoning? Why do you think that they had Bill running behind the scabs at the end of the game? Do you think they're just trying to prepare him for a heavier workload since he's going to be a factor in this room? Or do you just think they're just trying to get his legs back under him because the man only played one college game last year?
I'm glad that you asked that question, because sitting live in the stadium, I was crashing out like, why is he still in there? But
I was on stream.
Sit it with it, and us being the ball knowers that we are. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. This is a guy that has only played 14, 15 games in about 2 seasons. He played 1 game last year. So I think they're just preparing him to handle that workload that they're predicting that he might have to at some point this year. And I also think that they wanted to see how he looked with players that were deemed, below level talent, to see if he can make, chicken salad out of chicken shit per se, and make guys miss in a hole and things of that nature, to see if there was, some uber special athletic qualities that we saw yesterday. But I saw enough in that 27-yard run to make him the RB1. And it doesn't take much when Brian Robinson was your RB1 prior to yesterday.
Yep. When people keep saying we're jumping the gun, putting Bill at RB1, you can already see it. Like, obviously, the offensive line created the Red Sea on that play. We're running Joe Gibbs style counter tray movement. Andrew Wiley and the guard are pulling across the field. John Bates is blocking 2 dudes like a bouncer throwing 2 little ass Bamas out the club. And he did his job. The breakaway speed, like I said, if he got that carry Chris Rodriguez got on the first carry of the game, he takes that shit all the way to the crib.
Yeah, but I'm not going to knock Chris Rodriguez for not doing it, because Chris Rodriguez, and I'm not saying that you are, but Chris Rodriguez is a guy that's not a burner. I'm glad that he got what he could out of that.
At all.
You know how many runs we've seen from Bryant where he didn't get what was blocked for him because he's running into offensive linemen backs. Yep. So just the run that we saw from, Chris Rodriguez was a 180-degree improvement. And I'm glad that he knows his game, that he's not trying to cut back and ends up stumbling on his feet, and what turned into a 40-yard run is a 13-yard run because he's trying to juke and he really ain't got that type of juice. But I do think Bill in that open field is gone.
Oh, yeah. I joked on the timeline, it ruffled some feathers, that B-Rob would have cut that Bill run for a touchdown back into the center and ran right into the traffic in the middle of the field. But
it's hard to prove to a middle linebacker how tough he is.
And still goes down on first contact. But this is not a pile on B-Rob section of the pod. But I am Black Mall. Appreciate you for the $1.99 super chat donation. O-line looks to be improved a lot from last year. Did you pay any attention to Josh Connerly Jr. last night when you were at the field?
I did. You touched on it. And, a lot of people have projected that he's going to be exceptional in the pass game. But I think that he's such a superior athlete. And we saw it yesterday where his lack of play strength, because there is a lack of play strength there. And, he's a 21-year-old lineman, still getting acclimated to the NFL. So there's not a surprise. But his lack of play strength is made up with the fact that his feet are so damn good. When we were in Ashburn, I thought that he looked slow-footed and didn't necessarily match up to his athletic testing. But I think that the game was just moving too fast for him, but he's caught up. If you can see him seal guys off, you don't have to be the strongest athlete when you're in the right position, getting good leverage and things like that. I think he even held up in the pass game, showing anchor where he was giving examples of showing that play strength as well. But yeah, he showed everything and more that you can ask from a 29 overall pick, because if you can pair him with Laremy Tinsley out there, I think you got your bookend tackles for at least the next 3 to 4 years.
That's beautiful, man. And also, your perspective having boots on the ground, because I understand the way you watch football. I've watched games with you in person and we talk every day in the group chat. You see things that we're not necessarily going to see on the television copy of it. Talk to me about Luke McCaffrey, because we weren't able to get a real assessment of him because the quarterbacks he played with were hot dog water last night. Talk to me about some of the things you saw from Luke last night.
And I don't mean to be an antagonist because I know that it's trendy. I get it. It's trendy to bash Luke McCaffrey. I've even gotten into the trend. I called him a nepotism baby and everything
Lucas,
like that.
Big Lucas.
Yeah, I've even did it, red-handed. But Luke was open yesterday. And if anybody gets an opportunity to go back and look at the All-22 film, I tweeted it in real time because I noticed it in real time. Luke was open. He was beating his guy. Like you said, though, he was dealing with Jake from State Farm at quarterback. But Luke was getting his guy, and what surprised me is that he was beating his guy downfield. I think that he can improve in, awareness and where to sit down in zones and things of that nature. But as far as man-to-man, Luke McCaffrey looked like Christian out there yesterday. I'm like, and it doesn't look like it. And that's the ebbs and flows of the receiver position. You're so dependent on another position. And when you look and you got straight goose eggs in the stat sheet and the box score at the end of the game, it looked like you did about as much as me out there. But Luke McCaffrey was out there beating his guy yesterday, as you can see in some of these clips that you're pulling up.
Yep, I'm gonna let this run a couple times, but them NFL films, they be flagging like crazy. But look at Luke on the bottom of the screen running right past the cornerback. Was this on the play that Josh Johnson threw that dumbass interception?
No, I think this was on the play where Sam Hartman rolled out and got like 10 yards maybe.
Okay.
But this is a 60-yard, a 70-yard bomb if he hits him, or if you're a capable NFL quarterback, and at worst it's a whole shot. If not, you beating that coverage with an upper tier caliber arm, and Luke McCaffrey beat his guy.
Yep. So switching gears a little bit to the defensive side, because after that first quarter of football, it was very hard to gauge what guys were capable of in the wide receiver room and other skill positions. But going to the defensive side, we saw the starters for a couple for a possession, 2 possessions-ish. It was a mix of guys. To start, did you know when you arrived at the stadium that Trey Amos wasn't playing last night?
I didn't. And then I think he walked out before the rest of the team came out during the tunnel. I was like, what is going on? What is going on? And it wasn't reported. I scroll. Once I'm in the stadium, I got to scroll to the up and down. And I never saw it reported till, he wasn't out there with the starters. But did you know? Was it reported on the TV?
No. And then all of a sudden, someone, I forgot who they said. No, Troy Aikman said on the broadcast, Trey Amos wasn't playing. And then I was like, oh my God, did he get hurt? Are they hiding him? What is happening? Then Nikki Jabwala comes out and says Trey Amos is out for the night. And then eventually we got Dan Quinn in the presser saying he had some hamstring tightness. So this is precautionary, but something to monitor, because soft tissue injuries are stupid. They're a son of a bitch, and we hope that this is just precaution, because he might be the best corner in that room on the outside right now already.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a hot take. And, we saw what the hamstring injury did to Marshawn Lattimore, and it's to the point where I think that it's kind of zapped his powers, where I don't think he's ever going to get back to the pre-hamstring injury Marshawn Lattimore. But, yeah, I was taken aback by that, and it's unfortunate because I would have loved to see him going against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Oh my God, I would have loved it. So we saw a whole lot of Joe Burrow and a regular amount of Joe Burrow for a meaningless preseason game last night. But we saw the starters out there. My first observation were the safeties looked very active, and Quan Martin's tenacity looks like we're going to see something special in 2025.
My biggest impression was that all the DBs were tackling pretty well in space. It started with, the big misdirection pass where it could have been a big game. And it looked like that to me in the stadium. But Quan Martin made the tackle and ended up being a 4-yard gain. And those are the type of marginal plays that wins games when you have an uber talented quarterback like Jaden Daniels. If you can have those explosive plays on one end and prevent those explosive plays on the other end, those are the type of difference makers in the NFL in 2024 when, time of possession is so valuable and, possession of the ball is so valuable. But yeah, like you said, the safeties as well as the corners. I know we were just talking about how, Trey Amos might be the best in that room. I think Marshawn looked good for the few reps that he had. There was a reason why Joe Burrow was holding on to that ball for so long. Now, he started to think it was December. I don't know what he was doing with all them 360s breakdancing in the pocket, but part of that was because the secondary was clapping them boys a little bit. I'm not even gonna lie.
I wasn't accustomed to seeing Joe Burrow running around lost like he's seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold's New York Jets days. Our starting edge rushers, Dietrich Wise and Dorrance Armstrong, looked very active. We look really stout and large. Like my man Skip said, a lot of girth and tonnage up front. That D-line was making it real not easy for Joe last night.
Bro, Javon Kinlaw is not a man, is not a real person, bro.
Big dude, man.
Bro, no, we've been around football players. We've seen Chase Young. Young, yeah, he's a bust, but Chase Young was huge. Javon Kinlaw is built like a damn garbage can with arms, bro. A garbage truck with arms, bro.
Yeah, the whole truck, not a can.
The whole truck. He's built like a garbage truck with arms. And go back and look on the play. Look at the whole first drive, but look at the play that the Cincinnati Bengals actually ended up scoring on their first drive of the offensive possession. Javon Kinlaw threw, bruh. And for everybody that's saying that whole $15 million average annual value, if we can get that play from Javon Kinlaw in the regular season, he's going to be well worth that $15 million average annual value. And I was a little skeptical when he signed that contract as well, but he looked every bit of the ascending player that Adam Peters said he thinks that Javon Kinlaw can still be, even if he's going into his 6th year in the NFL. Daron Payne, he made the tackle on the first drive. I think this defense, like you said, we're so different from last year where John Allen was playing at 275. I still don't know why he wanted to get to that. I don't know. But, we were a lot different, and we have a plethora of guys. I heard Joe Witt talking about how he wanted to play Jeremy Reeves as a third safety. Tyler Owens was out there with the starting unit yesterday. I don't know if that's, based off of different packages and things like that. But like Joe Witt said last year, we're going to have about what did he say, 15 to 18 guys that we're really going to bring. It's not a starting 11. I think that he's really followed through with that with his personnel this year.
I think so too, man. I love what we're doing up front. We're not going to get the truest look of our backer play without Bobby on the field, and we're obviously not going to see Von Miller on a preseason football game. But Dietrich Wise showed some juice. He's anticipated to be our run-stopping edge, and Dorrance Armstrong's in there getting in on a sack. How about Jacob Martin as the main depth edge rusher? Is that new Dante Fowler, but more built to be an edge?
Really quickly, you touched on the linebackers. I just want to say Frankie Louisville's a damn nut.
Oh, yeah, he's crazy.
He's an idiot. I don't know if was he having like push flashbacks? I don't know. We were supposed to be off the field.
Oh, but yeah, he did extend the drive on 4th down. Yeah, we had two stupid penalties. He's
an amazing player. So I'm not bashing him by any means, But that Samoan blood can't run in you 24/7, bro.
Screws loose. Them screws definitely loose up there.
Absolutely. But getting to Jacob Martin, he's a lot bigger than I thought. Pause. And I think that he can more than adequately fill the role of the Dante Fowler position. I think that he's going to give you more in the run game. And then when you look at some of his Chicago Bear film and some of the film that he's had with teams in the past, and what we've seen in training camp, he does have a little bit of bend. Now, is it prime Von Miller bend? No, not at all. But he has the bend and the capability of playing, and rushing the passer. I heard him with his interview that he had with Grant Paulson, where he said that he wishes every down was 3rd down. So that shows you the type of confidence that he has in his capabilities of rushing the passer. And to see he's already, I think this was the 2nd game in a row, he had a perfectly executed stunt with a defensive tackle. So he's already getting acclimated to the system. I think that Jacob Martin could be a big unsung hero for this defense.
Jacob Martin, I'm a believer. My guy Louis T is very high on him. I had some jokes in the offseason like, yeah, he's just a fill in the room guy. Take Von Miller off this roster. That's easily the best bend that we have on this team. I'm excited to see that because we have not had a lot of bendy guys over the years. Like, I'm excited to see that. I think that could be a guy that gets to it. I think Dorrance Armstrong's our 10-sack guy this year, though. Who do you think is going to lead the team in sacks?
I'll join you with more conviction after last night. They're scheming Dorrance Armstrong up for looks. You seen that play where Joe Burrow was doing the waltz in the pocket. You seen they had Dorrance Armstrong lining up over the guard. And I believe if he could use his quickness and stuff against guards instead of just being a traditional 4-3 defensive lineman like they were using him last year, if we could get more creative with him, because I think that he's underrated as an athlete. I want to see him rushing out of 2-point stance more and getting those type of advantages. And I think that if that can happen, yeah, I can join you with those 10 sacks from Dorrance Armstrong this year.
Yeah, we ain't do our group chat pod yet that we're going to get knocked out before the season. But when we start going into some of these predictions, Dorrance Armstrong for 11 sacks is definitely going to be somewhere. I didn't hit on my Dorrance Armstrong pick last year. I'm going to account that to he was banged up a little bit. But
so can I chalk my Emmanuel Forbes prediction to that he was banged up a little bit?
Emmanuel Forbes is going to be banged up for the rest of his life, man. That's a future DC defender, a legend, Emmanuel Forbes. But linebacker wise, K. Madrano was out there early, but Ali Cahoe was flashing yesterday. 51. I was calling him Duke Riley. I didn't know what number Duke Riley was issued. I thought it was Duke Riley, but Cahoe was getting active last night. That boy goes sideline to sideline. The other UCLA linebacker definitely caught my eye last night.
He was, and I wish that there weren't so many bodies in that linebacker room. But if Mr. Glass, Jordan McGee, still is missing practices and games, then Cahoe might be a guy that maybe not sneaks his way on the 53 initially, but later in the season, if Mr. Glass is still doing Mr. Glass type things, we might need a guy like Cahoe because he's a natural born linebacker. That's one thing where K. Madrano, while he's a freakish athlete, you can see that Cahoe reads his keys and he's been playing linebacker for longer. And it's just more natural to him. While he isn't a superior athlete, he's kind of like, Samoan Bobby Wagner. That's not all the way there.
Yeah, definitely, man. Some guys just look like a linebacker, and the size, it just looks more aesthetically like a linebacker. That Will Harris sighting we got last night, we saw what Quan was doing, but Will Harris, our safeties are bringing that violence that Joe Witt wants. And every time Reeves is on the field, it could be even his own teammate. He's hitting everything in sight. But in coverage, I would like to see a little more from Jeremy Reeves.
Yeah, if Jeremy Reeves had solidified that third safety spot, like Joe Witt said prior to yesterday, I think he kind of lost his stranglehold on that. He didn't play bad by any means, but I think that Tyler Owens had a pretty solid game. And then when you see Will Harris and, Quan Martin out there, I think those three looked well together as a unit. I think they looked real coherent. Like you said, all of those guys were making plays on the ball in those big nickel packages and things like that. And if that unit keeps gelling, I don't see why you would break them up. Like you said, Jeremy Reeves is a heat-seeking missile. He's going to knock everybody out. But there's a reason he's going into year 8 and he's never been a consistent NFL starter. And I'm sorry if I don't think that he's going to have some type of late career renaissance. So good depth piece, a guy that you want to come, change the culture and instill the type of culture that you want. But I'd rather take my chances in like the athletic specimen Tyler Owens having that third safety spot. How about you?
Yeah, I like that too. Tyler Owens, he's a guy where you can't really put him in a very specific role. You got to move him around a little bit, but you need that type of height, weight, and speed. As long as the coverage aspect isn't overwhelming for him, you got to find a spot for him out there. But I like what I see out of the safeties. But
Quan Martin, Pro Bowler this year. Quan Martin, Pro Bowler this year.
Yep, you called it. You've been on this. You've been on this for a while.
Yeah, I've been saying it for a couple of months now. I just went back and looked at the back half of 2024 film, and you saw that he was an ascending player. And I did this prior to knowing that he had 2 bad shoulders. So he was doing this off of Vicodin and everything else. So imagine what he can do with 2 healthy shoulders. And he showed it in that first drive last night.
Yeah, man. Quan Martin, that tackle on the goal line where it should have been a walk-in from the tight end, that was big time. German suplex that boy like Kurt Angle. But we're going to get into some more winners and losers from last night's preseason game after a quick word from today's sponsor. I've been looking to find the best deal on Washington Commanders tickets for the 2025 season. which is why I want to give the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sporting events, festivals, and more. The NFL is right around the corner and MLB is in full swing. I love using SeatGeek. Recently used it, lock in my training camp tickets. Most notably, I was at the Grand National Tour with my son, Kendrick Lamar, and SZA at Northwest Stadium. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 through 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And you know I had to come through for y'all using promo code RIO for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code RIO. RIO. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you again, SeatGeek, for sponsoring this video. Days away, promo code RIO in the chat and in the comments below. We're talking about winners and losers from yesterday's or last night's preseason game #2. Percival Butler was getting active last night. It was just a good day all around for the safeties for the most part, even though Jacob Browning was dotting up the secondary when he was.
I think it's going to be a good season for this defense. Look at what we've said. We've talked about linebackers that shine. We've talked about defensive linemen that shine. And to be quite honest, the touchdown that the Cincinnati Bengals scored, let me know how it looked on the TV copy, but it happened right in front of me. That was a real questionable pass interference. I know it's Jamar Chase. Right. I get it. But that was a thrifted touchdown. The defense looked good to me, and it's a trend that we've heard over the course of camp. And, you know, if we want to be the contenders that we expect to be, we got to have a good defense. We got to have a good offense. So this shouldn't be surprising to us.
Yep, it shouldn't be. Like Noah Igbenogany's having one of the best summers of anybody on the team. He saw the team go out and sign Jonathan Jones, and he's made it his task to keep him off the football field. So I like what Noah's doing. What the hell was Mitchell Tinsley on last night?
He was on some get back shit. What did we do to him? They must have like threw his bags out when they cut him last year or something. But I saw how he was spazzing on the sideline too. I don't know. I went back and watched the rewatch today. He looked different. He looked all roided up now. Like
he got swag, but his skin hit different. I was like, who is this?
He must react to that skyline chili in Cincinnati a little different because he don't look nothing like the Mitchell Tinsley that was here. And that was 10 months ago, bro. But he had to get some get back. Now, everybody keeps talking about the touchdown on Carlin Vickers, but I don't think Carlin Vickers is a real football player. He might as well start pushing Carson Safeway, bro. He don't want that type of contact, so I can't even tell him go to the UFL, bro. Like, I don't know. So, you know, he mauls Carlin Vickers, but he had a couple of catches, even the catch that was batted in the middle of the field on the dig route. Mitchell Tinsley looked like an NFL player last year. I mean, last night.
Mitchell Tinsley had me doing something that I don't like to do because I'm not sitting here trying to poach summer players and players that don't make roster. But he had me thinking, if he don't make that roster, do we need to call him in that wide receiver 6 spot? Because we've seen a couple August summers where he was like that in camp for us, even though he never touched the field in the regular season. He looked like a different guy. He head topped and dunked on 2 Commanders. Poor Carlin Vickers, man. He went from a human sacrifice to getting dunked on like old boy Vince Carter jumped over in the Olympics back in the day. Carlin Vickers, Whole Foods. Y'all gonna get it cracking very soon.
He might be a manager at that joint, bro. He might be a manager.
I'll say this. I hope he got his degree. But what other players last night caught your eye in person?
Other players last night that caught my eye in person. I know we talked about him, but I was really impressed with Javon Kinlaw. Like, I was really impressed with Javon Kinlaw because I think that, you know, Johnny Newton was a guy that we spent second-round pedigree on. And while he had a flash play last week, I think Javon Kinlaw is firmly entrenched as that, you know, DT2 roster, DT2 spot on the depth chart paired with Daron Payne. And to see Payne at 320 pounds and Javon Kinlaw at 300 and who the fuck knows right now pounds, That's the type of defensive line I need to see it go against the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think that's why I paid so much focus to him. But another guy, and you mentioned it, but I know a lot of people, I was thoroughly impressed with the play of Will Harris. He almost seemed to be in the right place at the right time. And the play that he made in the end zone, where, I went out the other day and after Jeremy Chin, caught that diving interception, I said, I miss Jeremy Chin already. But I can already see that Will Harris is going to be an upgrade in the man-to-man coverage aspect of the game. So those are two guys that stuck out to me, boots on the ground. Didn't necessarily see any back half of the roster guys standing out. Now, I don't know if that's with, the Abercrombie and Fitch models, the likes of Josh Johnson and, Sam Hartman, but those are two guys that stood out to me for sure.
Hell yeah, man. And I love the summer too in preseason. Jeremy Chin catches a pick, the timeline crashes out. Olamide Zaccheaus catches a touchdown to start, and everyone forgot everything they said about Olamide Zaccheaus last year during the
Nah, for sure. They forgot the times he fumbled. They forgot the times that he didn't get it done. He was back to being in everybody's good graces. He was back to being the one that got away.
So were you there early enough to see like pregame and stuff? Because I need a scouting report on Matt Gay, on the kicker, because he made what he needed to, but his kickoffs are pretty putrid. Like, we can't even get that shit inside the 10 for real. What's your early report on the kicker, man?
So like I said, I got there a little before the light show. So he was out there already warming up. So I'm not going to say that I saw a bunch of kicks. But the ones that, he was out there for, I saw about 3 kicks. He made all 3. But that was definitely something I noticed about the kickoff. I know Dan Quinn and them have said that they don't necessarily want the ball reaching the end zone. They want, a chance for our kickoff coverage to get down there and make plays. But I don't know if you want that with the way that the kickoff coverage has looked over the course of the first 2 weeks. We about to let another opening touchdown go, bro.
Yeah, we had to excel just because the opening kickoff didn't go for 6.
Like, and that's why I'm not knocking the first defense between the kickoff yards and the thrifted gift of pass interference that they got.
And Louvu.
And then nut ass Louvu. Like, they got like 10 real yards.
They did, and they made Joe Burrow work very, very hard for everything he got last night. But preseason is just an interesting product, man. We watch it because of love of the game, our fandom, and love for this sport. But it's such a nasty like Saturday. It's good. You in the house again Saturday for the Ravens game?
I might stay home for that one. That one's in the middle of the day. It's supposed to be 100 degrees, and we starting out with the hand models.
At noon, you finna get 4 quarters of Sam Hartman and Carlin Viggers and Bobby Price. That is nasty work. Bobby Price is a very bad football player, by the way.
That's disgusting work. The only reason I'm watching this game is to do some content on it after, bro. Because
we punching in, we clocking in for work.
That's through misery. That's like watching the second half of the Patriots matchup from the jump.
I'm going to be doing a watch party, and we're going to be talking about everything but football during that shit. If you want to hop in on this joint at any time, I'll shoot the link to you and the rest of the game in the chat. But, yeah, Saturday is going to be a hard watch. But we're 43 minutes into the program. Make sure y'all smash that like real quick. Subscribe to the channel. We're 200 subscribers away from 20K. But while we're here, please do my brother a favor. If you are a subscriber to Rio Robinson, you should be a subscriber to my brother, Jalen Morgan, a.k.a. Stunner Showtime, a.k.a. Bleeding B&G, a.k.a. Whiz Kids Forever. Happy retirement, John Wall. Subscribe to my brother's channel so he can run it up over there as well. You see it on the screen. Sub it up. He's tagged in the title of this video. Click the page, subscribe to the page whenever he posts something. Roast him, comment with him, do whatever you got to do. Engagement is everything in this space. Make sure y'all lock in with my brother. But we're 45 minutes into this show, and we haven't mentioned old acorn head, parabola hairline, our king, Terry McLaurin, who was not at the game yesterday. We get conflicting news about what he's asking for, what the team's asking for at this point. Where do you stand on August 19th on Terry McLaurin 2025 status with the team? And he's off the PUP list now.
Our king. You started by saying our king. I don't know. He might be the rest of. That's why he acting like this, y'all. That is why y'all got him moving different. I had somebody, quick story time. I had somebody come to me yesterday and was like, man, I love your channel, da. What's going on with Terry? And guess what? He had a Terry McLaurin jersey on. I said, y'all are what's going on with Terry. Bruh is feeling himself. I love Terry. Terry is, like I've heard you say, he's been the baddest girl in a room full of fives with us, right? But Terry is delusional. And at this point in August 19th, 5 weeks into this contract standoff, if you don't see that Terry McLaurin is delusional, you need to take off those burgundy and gold lenses. If he thinks that he's going to get DK Metcalf money, he's been told no about that for 4 weeks now. What makes him think anything is going to change? So I need to find out who hit Terry McLaurin like Vontaze Burfict hit AB, because he moving crazy. And I don't want to put the CTE smut on his name yet. And I'm not even going to go that far. But Terry McLaurin is acting completely different from what I've known Terry McLaurin to be over the course of his first 6 seasons.
And like, I get it from the team side, and I get it from his side. He's trying to cash in for the last time in his career, but trying to set this precedent as the first 30-year-old receiver to lock in this historic number, and using DK Metcalf as the barometer for when DK Metcalf is still only 27 years old. Yes, we know Terry McLaurin's better than DK Metcalf, but there are obvious reasons. And just because one team does bad business does not mean Adam Peters needs to do that. And we're learning a lot about Adam Peters during this process. I feel like Terry is partly to blame for some of this, because you're going after your franchise record-setting season. You should have hired a real agent, buddy. You should have went with athletes first, with Clutch, with a Rosenhaus or something. Buddy Baker is not the guy I would have bet all my cards on the table for after I just set franchise records and then went crazy in the postseason after his best. He finally has a quarterback. You had some leverage going into this, and you got this novice-ass agent that should be representing the likes of you and I, trying to negotiate a contract and say, oh, we want 33 million. We want 34 million, yada, yada, yada. Some people are saying that number might be even crazier than that they originally asked for. But we're at the point now on August 19th. He's off the pup. Dan Quinn told you about the ramp up to get him ready for week 1. We're getting very close to accept what we're offering, or you're playing on your current contract in 2025. How do you think this plays out this year?
Just touching on the point that you made, bro, Terry McLaurin he always knew what age he was going to turn 30, right? So if he knew that he was going to press for this contract and he wanted to bet on himself, you should have signed a shorter contract on your second deal, bro. But these are the things that your agent is incapable of having the foresight and the insight to tell you. So I 100% agree that Buddy Baker has made this much more of a mess than it has to be. But at the end of the day, Terry McLaurin pays Buddy Baker, right? Buddy Baker works for Terry McLaurin. So Terry McLaurin has to put on his big boy pants at some point. And, if he's the ultimate wide receiver one, non-distraction, non-diva that he's been praised to be, he needs to show that within this week. He's off of pup. He's made his stance. He's made his statement. And I feel you. I think that there's an expiration date on this deal that they have proposed. We know that there's a number out there. Nobody knows the solidified number, but I can easily see Adam Peters getting to the point where he's like, all right, Terry, you don't want this, bro. We just going to let you rock out. Because guess what? Even if we let you rock out this year, you're still under team control next year, because we can franchise you then. And what you going to request another trade, another empty trade that has been met with a bunch of silence? Like, this has been a bunch of nonsense, and it's killing the vibe. It was honestly killing the vibes for me going into the season. And then I saw Jaden Daniels play football yesterday. I was like, all right, he's wide receiver one proof. Terry who? Debo Samuel running 19-yard jet sweeps. Terry who? Like, come on, bro. You're not the star that you once were on this team. And we all gotta fall in line, and we all gotta learn a little deference at the end of the day.
And there's like objectivity that we can have as fans, where we don't need to demonize AP. We don't need to demonize Terry McLaurin. We also don't got a lot to kick it. We don't have to I've seen conversations on the timeline about how Terry's better than CD Lamb and AJ Brown. We don't have to do that. We don't have to lie to uplift our guy. We all love Terry McLaurin, but Terry McLaurin is a very good wide receiver. But there are levels and tiers to it. I've seen people last night telling me that he's a top 5 receiver. Terry is not a top 10 receiver, but last year he had a very good season. We love him. We want to get the numbers done, but Adam Peters is not about to just throw dollars around because there's only one blank check player on the roster right now, and he wears a single digit. He plays quarterback, and he had a platinum front in his mouth last night. His name is Jaden Daniels. But you think they get him done? You think they get an extension done, or you think Ricky Scoops was a little bit off?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that they don't. I have all the faith that I have a lot of faith in Ricky. Ricky has had a lot of bangers. I know some people are like, dude, why are you putting all this faith into a dog avatar and things of that nature? Ricky has had some bangers. You know, we tapped into NFL social media. Ricky's one of them guys. But I'm gonna go out on a limb because this is the prediction that I made a couple of months ago when I said that this was exactly how the standoff was going to go. That Terry McLaurin plays out this deal. We might fully guarantee this deal. I think that might be the one alteration that we do to this year, because the reality of the situation is he's still under team control for the next 2 years.
So bump his pay for 2025 is what you're saying.
Bump his pay, give him fully guaranteed for 2025. Hopefully that can, make amends on the fractured relationship that Jeremy Fowler reported on your show, and then we can come back, reconvene in the next offseason where we can franchise tag you, or you can bet on yourself and have a type of year where you're really valued at the number that you valued at. Because I'm telling you now, a lot of touchdowns, cool. A lot of people aren't talking about how that's a quarterback dependent stat. It's a reason why Terry McLaurin only averaged 4 prior to Jaden Daniels. But 1,090 yards ain't nothing to write home about, bruh. It's not.
Exactly. We try to keep it real. We try to keep it unfiltered, raw, objective. I love this team. I love the players on this team, but I am not afraid to shit on either when I feel like somebody is in the wrong. And as a fan, we got to do that. We don't have to just blindly agree with burgundy tinted lenses to everything that's happening with the team. And as a content creator, I feel like it's very important in this space that we speak our mind about any and all things, and people can disagree. They can have a visceral reaction to it, but we got to get that shit off our chest, man. Because if not, we're not the media. We don't have to pander to anyone.
Yeah, we don't have to push narratives because people are telling us to either. Like, we're going to speak what's on our mind, and we're going to give it to you raw, uncut, and unfiltered. Like, that's what you come in here for, right? That's what they come to us for, right?
Yeah, you saying give it to you raw reminded me of Ken Law the other day when he was talking about we in here banging each other every day.
There we go. There we go.
That shit had me dying, bro. That shit had me rolling. But we got one preseason game left. Just one more for you because I know you got to get up out of here. Mm-hmm. What player can make or break their status on this roster coming up in Saturday's preseason game?
Oh, that's a great question. That's one I didn't necessarily think about. One player that can make or break. You give me your name and then come back to me.
Here we go. I'll start. Ja'Cory Brooks is one of the only people in this conversation because fans make a lot about that QB3 competition. I don't give a shit about QB3 in Washington, bro. We have a solidified superstar and we have a great backup behind him. Marcus Mariota was so lights out when he touched the field last year that we don't even have to think about who the third quarterback is. Josh Johnson's played enough football in this league. He's collected jerseys like Thanos collected Infinity Gauntlet stones. So we don't need to worry about that. It's Ja'Cory Brooks. We don't need to keep 6 receivers. We'll probably keep 5 and stash 1 on the practice squad or take a look around the league and see who gets cut. But Ja'Cory Brooks is a guy. He didn't have a chance with those quarterbacks last night, but he has a chance to be the 6th guy in the room. I think it's going to be very heavy, the 5 guys that we already know, Terry, Debo, Lane, McCaffrey, Noah Brown, but you got to factor in that Noah Brown is going to play 8 to 10 games a year. He's never made it through a season in his life. So Ja'Cory Brooks has the most golden opportunity on this entire roster Saturday. Let me hear one.
All right, I got one for you. And he had a damn good game yesterday. He played really well. But I'm going to go with Chris Paul. Because Chris Paul was out there mauling dudes. but I'll be lying. Prior to the season, I didn't have Chris Paul projected to make this roster. When we had, Nick Allegretti projected to be a backup now, and Nate Erbic, but then Nate Erbic retired. So I was curious to see how Chris Paul was going to respond. And if you saw the game yesterday, he responded like somebody should respond, especially going against the ones of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I know that run defense ain't nothing to write home about, but Chris Paul, we've always said how he's strong as hell. Like, he's always going to move his dude off his spot. But yesterday he looked a little more nimble. He's gotten his body right. And I think if he can have another solid outing, I'm gonna go with Chris Paul. And I know when I said that he was mauling dudes, I know that sounded crazy.
Yeah, especially when it's Chris Paul, man. But hey, what you do in your personal life, that's your business. But keeping the show on track. The final question, and you can get up out of here. Do we get anything for B-Rob, or is he about to get snipped in a couple of days?
It ain't nothing to cut that. Shout out K-Cat, man. Honestly, I think that's the biggest fault that you can get Adam Peters is that if you knew you were going to do this with Brian Robinson, because we've been saying that we needed to upgrade in the running back room. I know Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt is taking the fan base and the team by storm, but he was still a 7th round draft pick. Invest more in the draft with some higher round pedigree, or trade Brian Robinson so you can get some of that draft capital back. I think that's the only thing where I think we going at this point in the offseason where you've already let teams know that you're looking to trade him. Ain't nobody going to give you nothing for him. And right. I think that while Brian Robinson isn't an RB1 by any means, I think that he still is somebody that you should have been able to get some value for.
Yep. I think they wanted some confirmation over what the room was, especially with the new addition of Bill Crosby-Merritt. But I think at this point, if anybody offers a 6th or 7th round pick swap or a 7th of any kind,
I'm taking it.
You take it. I see Bleacher Report trying to do God's work and talking about 4th and 6th round. Yeah, I don't know about all that, but we shall see.
To who? From who?
I seen some article talking about, I don't know, I think San Francisco or somebody. Shout out to someone needs
Shout out to Bleacher Report for proposing that trade.
For putting that on. Yeah, we need that. We need that type of thing in our life. But Jalen, let the folks know where they can find you on social media, on YouTube, etc., so we can get up out of here, man.
Yeah, man. At Bleeding BNG, BLEEDING BNG on Instagram. BLEEDIN BNG. So there's only one G in our Twitter handle. Yeah, we still call it Twitter. We call it by its biological name. But you can follow us on YouTube as well. You can search Bleeding BNG, Bleeding Burgundy and Gold, or search Jalen Morgan. We try to push out as much content as real. I know every day we try to get to that point, but we got a lot of content out. We actually just did a game recap of last night's game. We're pushing out a vlog as well, and I'm also doing a game reaction. So make sure you stay tapped into the channel because we got big things coming for the Commanders in 2025 and the channel.
Yep, keep pushing it out, man. Push it out as much as you can. See, you have a life, Jalen. I don't have a life, so I got to lock in every day on this joint. Thank y'all for rocking with the boy on a Tuesday afternoon when we're talking about the team. Anything else, we'll be back to update y'all later. Make sure y'all sub up to my boy Jalen and follow him on X. I'm pretty sure you'll hop in his comments and argue with him or something because he's always pushing the envelope and stirring the pot on the X app. But that's all we got for right now. Hail to the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels MVP season loading. Bill for RB1, all that shit.